Hello everyone, welcome back to Tina Teach Python Functions and Inheritance, a continuation of our previous lesson where we took a look at inheritance actually. Now in this lesson we'll be focusing on the init and super function, and then how we can add properties as well as methods into a child class. Okay, now let's move on to the first part, the init function. It is called automatically every time the class is being used to create a new object. Okay, if you add an init function to the child class, it will override the init function of the parent's class, so the child class will not inherit the init function of the parent. Okay, so for example, it's just very simple as def init self name age for the child class. Okay, just pretend that this is a child class and there's a parent class above it. Now, how do you want to stop that overriding? Very simply, to keep the inheritance of the parent's init function, you simply need to add a call, and this is how you do it. So we have a child class, bartender, inherits the person class. So this is the parent over here with its own init function. Now you just simply need to call person init. Okay, it's basically just calling the init function of the parent, like within the init function of the child class. Okay, it's like picking up a phone and call your parents kind of thing. Now let's move on to the super function. What it does is that it will make the child class inherit all the methods and properties from its parent. So person here, so this is the child, this is the parent, this is the init function of the child, and then we have the super function, which calls upon the init function of the parent right over here. Okay, so with this function, you don't have to use the name of the parent whatsoever. This is in replacement of this statement over here. Okay, you don't need to call upon the name of the parent. Just simply type super. All right. Next up, to adding properties. You can add a property to a child class and use that property however you want based on the stuff that you've added in the parent class. Okay, so I'm gonna add a property called hobby to the child class, or the bartender class over here. We have the init function, the super function to call upon the parent's init function. Then I have the new hobby. Okay, I have the new hobby property, and once I declare a variable with the child class and I passed in the name, the age, and the hobby, and then if I were to print this out, it'll just show me name, age, and hobby. Okay, very simple. To the last part of adding method, if a method in the child class has the same name as a function in the parent class, the parent method inheritance will be overridden, meaning you cannot use whatever method was in the parent in the child class. Okay, here I have an example code. Let's go through it before we move on to the demonstration part. Class bartender, person bartender child, person parent, the init function of bartender, and then call upon the parent init function. Here I have a new property, self hobby. Okay, so hobby is our new property. And then we have another function which will handle, the printing format. Print, this is name. So whatever name we passed in for bartender, age, and hobby. Okay, so let's move on with the parent class. I'm going to name it flower. Def init self type and color. Let's go down here. Self type is type, self color equals to color. Okay, now let's move on to a new function, print type and color, self, print. My favorite flower is a pen, self, color, and then spacing, a pen, self, type. Okay, let's print this out. So favorite flower is flower, tulip, and then red tulip. Okay, favorite flower, print, type, and color. Okay, next up we have the child class, flower 2, inherits from flower, def, init, self, type, color, and habitat. There's a new one. The super function, so we can get the parent init function, init, type, and then color. We don't need to add in habitat. Self habitat equals to habitat. Okay, def, second favorite, self, print, my second favorite. So instead of using the append symbol, we're gonna use a comma. Okay, so my second favorite is, so with the comma you don't need any spacing in between, unlike the append. Comma is a space in and of itself. Self, color, self, type, it can be found in, okay, self, habitat. Then let's print this out. Favorite flower, we're reusing our variable, flower 2, daisy, and yellow, and the habitat is my backyard. Okay, favorite flower, second favorite. So I'm just gonna correct my typo over here. And then that's it for our code. So for the parent class flower, we print out my favorite flower is the color, and then the type preceded by spacing in between, and we passed in tulip and reds. Okay, so it passed in that as my favorite flower is the red tulip, exactly like what we've coded. For the child class, we have my second favorite is self color, self type, and then self habitat. Up here, we've also inherited the init function of the parent with super, so we've inherited this. Okay, that's why we don't need to do the whole like self dot type equals type, self dot color equals color. If you don't have that inheritance, then you would need to type this out manually. And then once we print it out, we passed in daisy, yellow, and my backyard, which turns into my second favorite is yellow daisy. It can be found in my backyard. Okay, next topic is about iterators, what they are, how do you code them, and why do you need to understand them in the first place. So thank you for watching until the end. I do hope to see you in the next lesson. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment any questions you have. Learn today, better tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.